Hello, everybody. Welcome to Public Speaking for Geeks, Work from Home Edition. When I saw the call for paper for this conference, I thought about my session that I normally do, and I thought that it's the right time to create the first version dedicated to public speaking from home, because working from home is not the same as going to the office, or also when you work from home normally, not during quarantine, you have probably no child around, or you are in a better situation. So this session is about talking in public in this period, working from home. And I want to start directly with one point. As you saw, I didn't spend time to introduce myself. I didn't talk about something like, hello everybody, my name is Lorenzo Barbieri, blah, 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 because when you talk in public, it's not about you, it's about the value that you want to give. And the value of this session is about changing the way you present your content when you are at home, probably not in the best environment. And so it's not about you, it's about the value that you want to give to the people. And also this slide is a little bit different that the one that I normally use, because normally when you are talking in public in a conference, you can also use props, you can use various methods to start with the value. When you are online, you can tell a story, or you can ask a question, a rhetorical question that allows you to uncover value, or you can tell them why you are there and not just your title. And that's important because people attention is something that it's not easy to keep. And so you have to work to keep people concentrated on you and on your message. And this is why you have to start directly with the value. You could have more time to explain who you are and why you are doing the session, perhaps during the session, but not at the beginning. At the beginning, you have to say what is the value of the session, and this is the most important part, especially online. Online, for example, you cannot start asking a real question to people unless you have a very small attendance, because you don't have time to check for the answers of your question, because you have to look at your screen, you have to concentrate, and talking to your screen is not easy. So don't ask a real question unless you have a very small number of attendees, and so you can make it interactive. When you do a virtual session, you can do recorded session or live session, and they are two completely different beasts. I wrote some blog post on my public speaking blog about that, but I really want to stress about that because, for example, this is a live session. I cannot, this is not a recorded one. You can spot it because, for example, I can make some errors, some mistakes, but this is the good part of a live session. You have to go on. Also, if somebody interrupts you, you have to go on. Also, if something happens, you have to go on. While when you record the session, it can seem easy because you can stop, you can restart again, you can cut, you can do post-production on your videos. But for me, for example, is much more difficult. It takes a lot of time for me to do a recorded session because when you do a recorded session, you aim for perfection, while when you do a live session, you aim for transmitting the value. And this is the main difference for me. Another difference is about setting the time, the breaks and everything, especially if it's a long event. If it's a 20-minute session, you don't have to show agenda, you don't have to show anything. But for example, yesterday I did a workshop online all the day, and so at the beginning we agreed about the breaks, about the lunch break, about how long does it take to do various parts, because especially when online, people need to know exactly when they can move on, especially when working from home, because, for example, at some point, some people had to go to cook for their children or daughters. They have to do stuff. Sometimes people interrupt you, and so it's important to have a clear understanding of time when you do a long live session, especially for your attendees. Your attendees can have a much better attention if you give them the time to do their normal work and home stuff during the day. So plan for some breaks and respect those breaks and respect the timing of your breaks. And don't be afraid of interruptions. Yesterday, I saw an article from New York Times that basically said that you don't have to show your child or your cats during sessions. You don't have to show them also during calls with colleagues. But really, you are interrupting your home, the people that works in your home with your that lives in your home with your work. So don't be afraid of interruptions. And as you can imagine, this is probably the most famous example of children interrupting a live session on TV. But also, for example, it happened to me yesterday. I was doing a workshop. I was lucky because the webcam was turned off, but at some point my child entered in the room and started cleaning the window, and I had to go there and make it safe. And but I continued talking, and at some point I say to the people that was listening to me, sorry, but I have to call my wife for a moment because my baby is trying to do something and I cannot take care of him. And they said, okay, no problem. And so don't be afraid of the interruption. Also, if you have the webcam turned on, it's no problem. You are working from home. If you state it, there's no problem. Of course, you can also use, for example, software like, I don't know, Teams or Zoom that allows you to put a virtual background behind your back, and perhaps you can, this background can cover the interruption, but no problem. It can happen, it happened, and it will happen also if you if you pay attention to avoid it, but it can happen, and so don't be afraid of it. Another thing that it's really important when you do a virtual session is, especially if you have multiple monitors, you are tempted to put notes on the other screens so you can read it. But this is really bad because people can see your eyes staring at another point of the screen and not on the webcam, and it's not professional. So remember, if you don't remember something, if there is a sentence that you have to tell exactly, put it in the slide and not in notes around, because especially in front of a webcam, people will focus on your eyes, and if they see you reading other parts of the screen, it's not so good. And also remember, for example, this is a very crowded slide. There is a lot of text on it, and this can be a problem because people will look at the slide and try to read everything. Also, if you are not on that part, and so avoid using a lot of text or use animation to show them. I decided to don't use animation, and I will tell you in a while why. Another thing is that memory is a better lie. So don't try to remember all the session by heart, but if you really need it, only put into memory the beginning and the end of the session, so you can start like a rocket and close like a rock star. But don't try to remember all the session, because people will see you trying to understand what you want to say, and it's not good, especially when you are live. And for example, in this presentation, when I do it live, I use it a lot of animation, transitions, and sometimes videos, but I removed all of them because working from home, I have a little bandwidth, and perhaps my child is looking at some videos on YouTube or something like that, and also I have to stream my video, and I have to stream my screen, and so perhaps the bandwidth is not so good. So I decided to strip all animation, transitions, and videos. If you have a better bandwidth than myself, you can keep them, but also remember that also people that are listening to your session perhaps have a limited bandwidth. It's not very good when you have a lot of transition and animation, because people can have problem receiving them, or will see blurs in the screen, and it's not so good. And also if you sometimes if you record the session, if you record the live session, you can also think about doing post-production work to overimpose some transitions over your slides, and that can be helpful for videos that are recorded and played later. And another thing when you do live sessions is beware of, virtual session is beware of cultural differences, especially if you do a session in English or in a language that is well understood in the world. Because, for example, when I do a session in Italy and I speak in Italian, perhaps I know that most of the people have the same culture, and so I can, for example, I can talk about famous people here in Italy, or I can talk about famous actors, or something from our history and something like that. But for example, with an international audience, I'm not sure that all of you know famous people from Italy, or that people that I can talk about have the same impact on the different cultures and different countries. And so you have to pay attention when you do examples. You have to pay attention when you make your stories, when you tell your stories. For example, I had a slide a lot of time ago, and in this slide, I say that bullet points in PowerPoint kill people. And for me, it was just a joke. I put a bullet point with the shape of a real bullet, and my avatar that was dying on the screen, hit by this bullet. And a friend of mine put my slide on Twitter, put a picture of my slide on Twitter, and people from another country complained that there was a mass shooting over there, and it was not very polite joking about bullets and people dying also in PowerPoint. And so I understood that something that can be fun somewhere can really hurt people somewhere else. And so really, when you are streaming a session, beware of cultural difference, because it can be really a problem. Speaking about cultural differences, and I want to tell you that if you accept to do a session in some event, or if you are creating an event, you have to check, or you have to have the code of conduct, because code of conduct is really important. And if the conference doesn't have the code of conduct, ask why you don't have it, because it's really easy to have one. It's really something that you need to have. And also check if the speakers list is diverse enough, if there are speakers from diverse culture or from genders or whatever. And talking about you, are you using an inclusive language? And so think about if you use he or she or singular they, boy, girl, person, or there are a lot of cases. I just put one example, but especially when you tell your stories, try to use an inclusive language and don't make people excluded from your stories, or don't try to, for example, tell stories about different culture. If you have to say a story that perhaps can hurt somebody, always say a story about you. So, for example, before I talk about my story, my real story about bullet points in PowerPoint, just because it happened to me, and I hope that it doesn't hurt anybody, but it was a real story that happened to me and opened my eyes. So it's really important that you use an inclusive language and you try to keep it, because especially when working from home, everybody can see your session. And so also, for example, jokes about parents with the children or something like that, always try to tell stories about yourself and not about somebody else. It's really, really important. Most of the time, virtual sessions are shorter than a normal session. For example, this session is 20 minutes, and normally I do this my public speaking session in session of 40 to 1 hour and 15 minutes. And so time is limited. Use the Pareto principle. Pareto principle says that you can deliver 80% of the value in just 20% of the time or of the content of whatever. So the 80-20 rule, try to apply it to your content. Try to find the most meaningful content that you can deliver in the amount of time that you have. And in case it's better to cut and leave some time at the end for the questions than to have a lot of slides and to run over your slides because you don't have a lot of time. Before closing, just a word about introverts. Normally, introverts have a lot of difficulties when doing a regular session, but when you do a virtual session, you are the master of the situation. So you really decide if you want to accept question, or you really decide what you say. You really decide if you want to keep your webcam turned on or turned off. So it's really, if you want to start the public speaking, perhaps delivering a live virtual session can be the best one if you are an introvert, and I really suggest to start from here. Last thing, did you count how many stories I just told you? Stories are the most important thing, because stories sticks in your mind and details will follow. So also, if you're doing a technical session, like most of the session of this conference, always try to tell them stories, why you are doing this, why you have chosen that technology, why you are doing this optimization, and tell a story, not just, okay, I can change this line of code because of this and that, technical details, blah, blah, blah. No, you are really tell a story and then go to the technical details. Before we go, if you want to go deeper into public speaking and look at all the other parts that I have to skip to stay in 20 minutes, I published some time ago a book about public speaking. It's completely free, so this is a shameless promotion of my book, but this is free, and it's really short. It's like 80 or 90 pages. You can read it really fast, but you can find a lot of tips and tricks of public speaking, especially for geeks, because geeks tend to be too technical, tend to go directly into details. And so this is not a normal public speaking for marketers or public speaking for sales or public speaking for extroverts. It's public speaking for geeks. So people, it's from one geek like me to all of you. And I really hope that you can find something useful over there. Okay, thank you very much. If you have some questions, we still have 1 minute. And also don't forget my blog, publicspeaking.dev, where you can find tips and tricks about public speaking in English and all technical. And also I have a lot of posts about diversity and inclusion, because I really feel that our industry should be more diverse and more inclusive. Thank you very much.
Hi. Okay, so as you may know, I was not actually scheduled to speak here, or at least to give this talk. And that is because my friend Ujwal couldn't make it to the conference and give his talk about ES modules. But I just like, as a really quick update, the current status of ES modules in Node.js is basically there is a PR open to unflag experimental modules, and it should land pretty soon, assuming we get these crashes in CI figured out. But yeah, it's not gonna take long until we have that resolved, I think. Okay, now, back to this. So I'm Anna, I work for Neoform. You may recognize this Neoform research logo thingy from James's talk. So yeah, I've been working on Node.js for a while now, nearly 4 years. And I work full-time on Node.js. You may know me from things like Workers, or from the talk I gave you last year about that topic. And I've also been involved in like making things like HTTP2 and Broadly and other things for Node.js happening. Again, as James mentioned, we're working on HTTP3 and Quick right now. And yeah, I like talking about Node internals and giving people a bit more overview over how Node.js works. And you know, and actually, in a way, this is a really good slot for this talk. Only 2 after Shelly's talk,